The facility wasn't just created for breaking down tape. It wasn't just created for laughs about X's and O's. The facility was created to have real, authentic, vulnerable, raw conversations. This is the most important conversation that I will have all day, sitting with all these athletes, 40 years of NFL experience, so you all can literally put yourselves in the position of being a player going to a game when something like this occurs. Shady, I want to ask you first. You played with Tyreek Hill, if I am not mistaken.
Yes.
You won a Super Bowl with Tyreek Hill. Obviously, you know Tyreek Hill well, your teammate, your brother, amongst others. Shady, what's your reaction to the body cam footage?
This is terrible, right? And I'm a good friend of Tyreek Hill. And I'm so mad it happened, but on the other side, I am kind of glad it did happen. You know why? Because you get to see what it feels like to be a black man in America, though, right? The difference is this person, this young man that's getting detained like this, is a superstar athlete. So he's going to continue to have his life. If it was somebody else, they might not have had their life. They might not have had a chance to go to the Dolphins game. They might have got shot. The problem with this is the way they're handling him, you'd have thought he robbed a bank, he did a murder, he did attempted murder, he did something. For a speeding ticket, you get all this? This is crazy. And we want the police to protect and serve. Is that like protecting? Is that like serving? No. So the problem is when you see something like this, it's going to go viral because who the person is. I want people to see, because this is common in our society. This is super common. And now everybody, I don't care what age, what race, you know this is wrong. And when you see this, just think, if he wasn't Tyreek Hill, it could have gotten way more serious.
You know, every time I see situations like this, I think about my two boys. And just how you got to prepare these dudes for situations like this. Got to do that right. Got to do this right. Got to do this. Got to do that. Even if you are right. Even if you're not wrong. For me, what really stood out in this whole video is, why are you so angry and aggressive, dog? Like, for real, like, you even angry and aggressive at the people there trying to support Tyreek. Like, Calais Campbell got his hands up like this, and he ain't even part of the situation because he like, don't pull your gun at me, don't shoot. Like, this is crazy. When you see cops, you're supposed to think like, cool, I see a cop, man, we protected, we good around here. Well, if you're a black dude, you feel even more scared. I go back, I'm watching this video. Tyreek Hill is so scared talking to his agent on that phone as that phone is on the ground. It shouldn't be like that. Okay, he didn't roll his window down. He rolled his window down, gave you his driver's license, and then he rolled his window back up. Then you go and yank him out of the car like Shady said, like he done did like a robbery or he got a gun or what. Like, it's disappointing, man. It's disappointing to where you're really supposed to feel safe around them, but we feel threatened. And like I say, superstar athlete or not, I think about my kids. And if that was my kids I see getting yanked out of the car for going 10 miles over the speed limit, I'm right outside the stadium where I play. This is ridiculous. And it got to get fixed because obviously we all know it's not just happening to Tyreek Hill, but this got to get fixed. But for you to come up there and just be that angry off the rip and not just pulling him out the car, then you tackle him to the ground a second time as he's standing up with the other cop just standing there right there with him handcuffed. You come tackle him and put him back on the ground. All right, come on, man. All that stuff is unnecessary, for real.
I just thought it was excessive, specifically speaking to the second situation that you saw on film where Tyreek's standing there, Tyreek's telling the cop, hey, I had surgery on my knee. Like, just give me a second to sit down, and he yanks him down. Like, he's Tyreek in that situation, like, he's being real. You know what I mean? And it's just an unfortunate situation all around for the Miami Dolphins because, look, at the end of the day, this is way bigger than the game, but you still have a game to get ready for, right? And you're your star wide receiver, like Shady was saying, you're a superstar. For a traffic violation, for speeding, it's a little bit much for me to be able to be thrown on the ground like that, especially like Tyreek's trying to make his case, right? Tyreek's like, hey, listen, I got my knee, it's hurting, like I just had surgery, and then he pulls him down. Look, it's just at the end of the day, it's not the way you want to start the season off for Tyreek. It's not the way that you want the season to start off for the NFL. And then when you go into the locker room like this, you're having to deal with this as well. You're trying to gather information. Tyreek and Calais are probably trying to tell Coach what happened. And Coach is trying to get all this information in his head as well. Like, oh my gosh, like what's happening? Like, where do I need to go? Who do I need to reach out with? Do I need to call Drew Rosenhaus? At the end of the day, he's probably not even thinking about the game, right? Like Mike McDaniel, he's not. You saw him get choked up yesterday. So it's just a really unfortunate situation all the way around.
I see a couple things. And oftentimes, far too often, we see this. That the badge can eliminate an officer's ability to see an individual as human. I want to remind y'all, if you watch the footage, you'll notice three things. The first thing you'll notice is this. Tyreek Hill never stated his celebrity status. Tyreek Hill never said, I got a $140 million deal with the Miami Dolphins. Tyreek Hill never said, all these people that are driving by us, they're driving to see me. Tyreek Hill never said who he was as it pertains to his celebrity status. The second thing I want you to pay attention to, if you were to watch the footage, the officer, as his knee is being driven through Tyreek Hill's spine, if you will, says, stop crying. There's quite literally nothing more inflammatory and offensive that you can tell another grown man who is not crying to stop crying when he's not crying. The third thing I want you to pay attention to is very simply this. As Tyreek Hill's teammates and his friends and brothers approach the situation, you see them there. They approach the situation non-violently. They approach the situation with compliance. And yet, the officers who are called by the government to de-escalate a situation in order to enhance compliance, they escalate the situation themselves. Who is going to be the authority on the scene when the authorities are not acting in an authoritative manner? So when I look at that, I'm distraught for several reasons, but mostly because, once again, we see that power corrupts, and absolute power, it corrupts absolutely. And those cops were given absolute power, and thus it led to the corruption. They didn't even see Tyreek Hill as a human. They saw him as a footmat in which you walk on, a completely devastating situation.
And you know what's like real alarming about this? If you listen to what the cop is saying, though, right, his demeanor, it's like, yo, I'm above you. Did you peep that, though? Like, in his voice, he said, you got it effed up. You got it confused. When we say do something, you do it now when we say. And I'm sitting there like, yo, when things go wrong, we're supposed to be trained to call the police. And then when you really hear what he's saying, he's like, yo, I don't care what's going on. When we say do something, you do it. And another thing, so if you guys can't see, but that the scenery back there, so I live in Florida, right? I live about 20 minutes from the stadium. They're at the stadium. You go down there, you make a right, you make one more right, he's going inside the stadium. So the police, these are not regular cops. These are cops that are supposed to be there for traffic, you know what I mean, for the stadium. So you know what's going on. Let's say you don't even know who Tyreek Hill is. It's a young black man, right? Nice car, right? You should assume he's probably going to play the game. Why you ain't ask? Why you ain't, instead of yelling at him, why you ain't talk to him, right? Try to understand what's going on. And then when they open the door and then they yanked him out, it's like, yo, treat this kid like it was be your son. I can see Tyreek Hill disrespected him, called him out their name, trying to belittle him. He didn't do none of that. And then till you watch the reaction, it's like if you gonna do this to a kid, right, that has a 10 miles over the speed limit, what you gonna do to somebody suspect that supposedly did something really, really wrong or did a really, really bad crime? Now it's like when we look at this, and well, my son's 12 years old. He sent it to me. Now he knows who Tyreek Hill is because I played for the Chiefs. He knows what he's like. Yo, Dad, is he okay? Did they do anything to him? And this is a kid. And it's going all around America, though. So my thing is like, yo, we got to be better as people. And as much as we want to kill the cops need to understand what we feel. Because of the real quick, but being a black athlete, not even a black, but a black person, it's like sometimes, and like, I have everything, you know, like criminal-wise ever, right? But if I'm driving down the street and a cop's behind me, just naturally, I just like straighten up because I don't want to put me over because I don't know what's going to happen, right? And the thing is, I don't have no job, nothing going on wrong. But I'm so nervous and scared because the things they've done over and over again, and it's not every cop. It's not every cop. But what I'm saying is, for the majority of this situation where when things like that happen, you get nervous, you get scared.
But not only that, for me, like, we've all been pulled over for speeding tickets, right? Right? So you get pulled over, right? They walk up to your window.
It's terrible.
You roll your window down, you give your ID. They go back to the car, whatever, they look at it, then they come back. Why are you acting so hostile? If you took my ID, which Reek gave him his driver's license, now you go back, okay, checking, he ain't got no warrants, none of that. Then you come back, boom, 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 here you go, here go your ticket. Why are you so hostile, pulling the door open, pulling me out of the car? There is no need for that. There is no need for that. You said a really good point. The cops are there to de-escalate a situation, not escalate it. They came out there from the rip like the plan was to escalate it. And my man is right around the corner from a stadium. Shady hit it on the nose, too. Like I said, I have two boys, man, and I always look at it like if that was my kids, like, what would I do in a situation like that? And now I'm at home trying to prepare them for a situation like that, and it sounds crazy.
I tell my boy, anytime anything happens with the cops, yo, call me. Call me, put it on speakerphone.
That's what I was.
Because you never know.
Because you said something really interesting, and I want you to share with us, if you don't mind. Like you said, your 12-year-old kid asked you, what do you tell him in that situation? Because he's 12, he understands it. He sent it to you.
And when he asked me, like, Dad, what's going on? Is he okay? Did he hurt him? And I took a step back, like, yo, I said, like, physically, it didn't hurt him, you know what I'm saying, because he's still playing the game.
Yeah.
But mentally, you don't know what type of trauma that is. So now when he's driving next time in the car in a cop, he's going to be terrified, right? Like anybody would. So, like, talking to a 12-year-old, and then he don't understand it because in school, right, and his parents, we teach him, something goes wrong, you see something wrong, yo, call me or call the cops. Yeah. So, my dad, my grandparents, something, call the cops, something goes wrong. But then hold up, I just see this Tyreek Hill thing. He got a 10-mile speeding ticket, but then they start grabbing him and putting their knee in his back. You see how that can be confusing?
It is confusing. And like I tell my kids, man, I tell my kids to, number one, call me, put me on speaker like Shady's saying. But I just prepare for all the situations, and it's crazy. It sounds crazy. Bro, if you're in the dark, hurry and get to some light. And we talking about the cops. Like, you should see a cop want to run over there to a cop, like, help me, hey, man, you know what I mean? Dark or not. And I'm trying to give them all these tips. Hey, man, get to the light. Make sure you're around some people. Make sure. That's crazy. And these dudes are supposed to be protecting us, man.
When y'all see anybody from the service, right, that you know, represent this country, when you see him, do y'all say anything to him?
I say thank you for your service.
I think say thank you for your service. All the time. I don't care where I'm at. If I see him out at a restaurant, I pay for their bill because I have a great life, right, that God provided, but also what them people have done for our country, right? When I see a cop, he can be good or bad. I want to say, yo, thanks for your services. But then you watch stuff like that, how can I? It's crazy.
The other thing that I'm reminded of, man, is like your celebrity status or your money don't make you immune.
Here you go.
You know, oftentimes people say, oh, well, you celebrity, you rich, you famous, you got this, you got that. This isn't about you. No, in that moment, again, Tyreek Hill is in the upper rooms as it pertains to wealth. A $140 million deal, if I'm not mistaken, with the Miami Dolphins, driving a car that costs the same amount of a house. And yet his celebrity status, the fact that everyone there was driving to see the most popular player on that field that day was Tyreek Hill. It was not the quarterback. It was not Trevor Lawrence. It was not either coach. It's Tyreek Hill. And yet his celebrity status did not make him immune to the over-aggression and to the abuse of power. Again, obviously, we'll have much more from this conversation. But early on in this show, we'd be remiss if we did not weigh in on the most important conversation we'll have today. What up, YouTube family? Welcome to the facility. Thanks for watching, and you better be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to get more highlights from the show and all of our exclusive content.